What's up, YouTube? This is Shaylin from 8-Bit Co-op, and I am playing Banished, a game that I originally found on, I think, Steam, but I've done some research on it on YouTube, and it's a game that was really interesting to me because um, being able to find a city builder with this level of detail that I saw in the examples in the videos I saw was awesome. First thing I had to do, of course, was come up with a name, and first thing I thought of was Jamestown. You know, one of the original settlements. So I named mine Jamesville after that. One of the first hitches I ran into was the UI wasn't very intuitive to me at first. So I had to go play with it a little bit and figure out, you know, the boxes in the lower right corner and how they kind of directed my play. But I did find out how they did, and I was easily able to find, like, how to drop in a road and how to drop in a house. But then I found my next barrier, which is, you know, how to rotate things, which led me to the good old options button. So that is something that, of course, I had to do with the input button. Being able to look this in and seeing which is, you know, rotate structure and all of that. I do like the aesthetics of this game. I think it's a very pretty game. I like the concept of the game, that there are these people that were just banished. The goal of the game is, of course, to make your people thrive. You are given initially a barn and a stockpile, which you saw in the very beginning, and your resources that you're given are based upon the mode that you pick. You know, there's an easier mode and a more difficult mode. I started out with 13 people, as you can see where it says Jamesville, and it says early spring 1. That means the season is early spring and it's year 1. And then there's 10, 0, and 3. That means that there's 10 adults, 0 students, and 3 children. From here you can see the scope, how small the village is right now compared to just the immediate surrounding area, and how big some of the buildings are. That's a woodcutter that I'm trying to place, which I decided not to, in lieu of a house, getting some housing for these 13 people. But having proper clothing and food and shelter to get them through their first winter, by every, you know, video tutorial that I saw, is, you know, the most important before you start looking at your resources, because there's so many natural resources that are out there. If you look up in the professions box, you can see that all adults initially start out as a laborer, and the laborers are people who basically do whatever is needed to do. So, like right now, I'm saying collect stone. They'll all go and collect stones. You see all the people shifting that way. What you can do is the little tally boxes below, you can go ahead and shift some of your general laborers into specialized professions to be able to make sure that you target their behavior towards that particular profession. One of the things that I really like about this is that if there is no work in their profession, they do revert back to doing basic labor work. So, for example, here I'm going ahead and putting in the 5 builders, because we have the 5 houses, and so those people will be solely focused on doing the building of those houses. Down in the lower left corner, you can see the trees falling over because they're cutting the trees down. In the Jamesville box, right below early spring, you see the box with the 40, and that's the number of logs. The box with the 2 1800 is, oh, that's the firewood, I want to say, if I can recall correctly. And the 1800 is food. The 20 and the 40 are the iron and the stone. The 30 is your tools. Now that's important because without your tools, you cannot you can't do any work. Okay. The temperature, the weather is important because that affects your ability to work. In the lower right corner, you can see me flipping through the different resources that are that you can build to help your area grow, your town grow. Like right now, I'm looking at putting a hunting cabin out in the woods. There are certain locations that are suited better for certain businesses per se. Like a hunting cabin does better with the woods around them because that's where the deer go. Gatherers do better with woods around them because that's where the wild mushrooms and the wild onions grow. So, and of course, a fishing dock does better on, of course, the water. So, you know, you got to pay attention to those things and make sure that you're aware of where you're putting your resources. The other thing is there are different resources that once you place them, they cannot be moved. And that really affects your makeup of your town, because if you want to expand your town and you put a resource there that can't be moved, such as a mine, that affects your ability to expand in that direction. So that's something really to pay attention to. If you notice, it's now spring, and we still only have 13 people. But you see that the food is dipping. It was 1,800, it's now 1,500. The other thing that really took me by surprise, and it wasn't intuitive to me, is that these little grublings had things in their house. I didn't realize it at first, but as people move into these houses, they move some of the stuff from the storage units into their houses with them, like in from the storage barns, and they move them with them. So, like your storage barn will say 0 firewood, or you'll get an alert that you'll have 0 firewood is getting low, and next thing you know, you click on a house and there's 60 firewood sitting in that house, and you're like, what's going on? Down in the event log, you see that Spring 1, Mary has become an adult and is working as a laborer. So you can see that as your children become an adult, they automatically go into a labor pool until you switch them into the specialized force. I've added another road there. Right now I was just adding the basics, like I added dirt road, I added wood housing, things like that. I like the ability just to click on the people and see what's going on. I'm nosy like that. I was talking to someone about the game. Of course, they were like, "It's because you're a woman, you want to manage everybody." No, it's not because I'm a woman, I want to manage everybody. Though that may be part of my personality. Right here, putting down a woodcutter. Woodcutter is a very good resource because without a woodcutter, your people cannot make firewood. They have to cut logs. The logs have to be cut into firewood. Without the firewood, your people freeze throughout the winter, and then your village freezes, and that's not a good thing. So it's one of those things that's really important to get up early so that you can start building your stores for the first winter. I love watching the trees fall. And then they make little stacks. That's cool. You can see them actually cutting the stone. You can see the deer in the forest. You can click on, like I just did there, you can click on and see how far along they are with building the individual buildings. And to me, that's exciting. Oh, bless you. My dog just knows I'm sorry. Oh, bless you. But as you can see, and I'm showing you here, I mean, this is a huge, huge area. And you have all of this room to expand. And as I'm whipping through, I'm noticing it's kind of nauseous, but you can see all the different resources that are out there. This, and each world is a seed, and the seeds are all different depending on what you click. This seed happened to have a lot of stone and a lot of iron on it, and a lot of water, I'm noticing. But right in the middle of the seed is where your barn and your storage is placed. So that's where you start. But that doesn't mean that it has to be, you know, a unilateral, you have to increase this way or that way. I really enjoy being able to look down on that level of detail, seeing the deer graze, and they only got 5 of 13 trees removed. They went really slow. I didn't realize when I was playing this because, you know, you're focused on so many things, trying to get so many things ready for the first winter, you know, not wanting your people to die, that I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get all this done? But you don't realize how slow it is. Like that, I didn't realize that I'd already placed a hunting cabin, and here I am trying to place another one. Oops. Roads, at first I was like, what's the purpose of roads? Because these people walking around this village don't use the roads anyway. But the purpose of the roads is so that they can travel faster. So if they want to, they, you know, take the roads, and that's a quicker path between where they're going and where they come from. You can see above the woodcutter there was the question mark. That means that it was ready and that it needed to be staffed. So down in the profession box, you notice I clicked one and gave them one woodcutter to be able to staff that, start cutting wood into firewood, or logs into firewood. Here we're watching them continue to build the different sites. Definitely a gender equality location. You see the women swinging the pickaxes as well as anybody else. Well, it looks like our dock is coming along okay for our fishing pier over there. Matter of fact, it's done and waiting for fishermen. So we got 2 fishermen out there. We can start pulling in some food, which is good. The 2 things that I've noticed were housing and food for the winter. You notice it's early summer, so we want to make sure that we get enough of those for everybody coming through for the winter. You see, I hover over crop field. One of the advices the best thing to do is a 7x7 because then it can be manned by 1 farmer. So you'll see that in a later video where I do build a couple fields. A storage barn only has a certain percentage of stuff that you can store in it. You notice, you know, that one had 21%. After that, this was my first Banished experience. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate any feedback you have for me. This is also my first narration for a video, so also let me know what you think about that. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will be glad to post more videos if you guys are interested in seeing them, because I'm definitely interested in posting more about this game. Thank you.